Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's Monday, the last day in November, and I don't have to go to work till 3:30 today, and it's only a 4-hour shift, so it'll be like I just go and come and whatever. uh, but yeah, as you can see, it's time for my video review of Sonic 278. I would have reviewed this back when I got it, except I was working, of course. And I got this the day before Thanksgiving, so you kind of get an idea of what happened there. I mean, I could have done it at night and stuff, but I was tired, stuff, things like that. So, yeah, got 278 in the mail this past Wednesday. Didn't get a chance to read it till about now, and like I said, didn't get a chance to read it till about now, and I think it's pretty good. I like the stories. I like both stories. I think Aaliyah's is a little bit stronger in a sense because you kind of get an idea of where they're going with, with that story. And I think it's called Heart something. I'm not really sure. One thing I will say about these packagings is they're a little hard to open at times, I mean, it's easy to get them back in, but it's hard to take them out. Hidden Cost, yeah. And then the other one is Face of the Enemy. How many parts is that? Oh, whatever. I'll figure it out. I think it's Face of the Enemy is, it's got some legitimate stuff there. I don't really know what's going on. So, whoops. Trying to get it back into plastic here, so easier said than done. There we go. Anyway, sorry about that. And I do apologize if this goes off prematurely. Now, the first story, Face of the Enemy, I think it kinda, I mean, if you read the title carefully and look into it, you kind of get an idea that something's going on here. Now, it's kind of ironic in a sense, and Mega Beatman pointed this out in his review, and a lot of people have pointed this out in their written reviews or online video reviews or whatever, that the three new freedom fighters, supposed freedom fighters, I think you want to look at them, Spike, Sonar, and Trevor, that there's something to them that just doesn't feel right. Like, it's like they're willing to help out. Obviously, you take a look at the montage panels and all that, it's like they're willing to help out. But there's something more to them. It's like there's something there that just doesn't click. Now, I'm assuming a lot of people are pretty much thinking that they're just freedom fighters in disguise, if you will. Some people are thinking that maybe they're just undercover Egg Legion bosses or Egg Legion members. Disguised to go out and be freedom fighters to lure any other, potential threat over into the Egg Boss area to be taken care of. Now, that's an assuming part. That's an assuming part because the main egg boss here, Nephthetis, I think that's her name, we don't see the face yet, we'll probably see that next issue, seems like a very threatening villain. Very threatening. And I think the reason a lot of people kind of, don't really know what to make of these characters yet is because you have, here's the thing when you take a look at towards the end. They have Antoine go ahead of them. They split off, they have Antoine go ahead of them. They have Sonar has Chip stay with her while Big goes ahead of them. And then Sonic's by himself. So it kind of makes you think that something just does not click. Something doesn't click. Now, a lot of people might think that Nephthetus, this is what I'm thinking, because it may not show it right now, but a lot of people may think that Nephthetus might just be the three of them, under the disguise, because it looks like the character is a pretty big character, size-wise. But we can't really say. We can't really say if that's the case or anything, but the story overall is pretty good. It's a nice little setup to what we're going to get next month. Like I said, I think the direction they may be going in, if it's what everybody believes it's going to be, is the fact that these are maybe that maybe these three are Nephthetus, that maybe they kind of like work together. Kind of like, okay, you have Trevor on the bottom, you have Spike in the middle, and you have, Sona on top, and that's Nephthetus. Who knows? You might have them, like I said, as undercover egg bosses. Who knows? Egg Legion members that are undercover as freedom fighters to kind of, like I said, take care of any threat that might threaten the Empire. That could be that too. Or they could just be basically something that we've seen before. We all remember the Sandblast freedom fighters, right? Well, you need some kind of a group that's freedom fighters, but they're the kind that are willing to be, doesn't matter who they're fighting for, as long as they get paid. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they're more like bounty hunter freedom fighters. In other words, they could work for the Eggman Empire as long as they're paying them, handsomely. I don't really know. Again, I think a lot of people are pretty much suspecting something here, because when you think about it, Chip's the only one that stayed behind with Sonar, and we all know Chip's a light Gaia, is the light Gaia spirit or whatever he is. So there's that. So there's that, and it's kind of intriguing. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it does have some good moments. I mean, I like the kind of like fangirlism or fanboyism when those three realize who they've encountered and helped, supposedly. I like that. I like the little squabble between Big and Antoine. Antoine's trying to tell the story of how Sonic became what he is, trying to be all dramatic, Shakespearean kind of deal, and Big's just like, oh, this happened, and just throws it out there, so, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, typically if we know Ian Flynn, he might even just have Sonic come out and say that, might come out and say, I know who you... I mean, like I said, if it goes to the point like the three of them are posing as Nephthetus, kind of like one on top of the other or whatever, I'm not going to be surprised if through that or some other way he acknowledges the fact that, hey, I got to give you credit. You had those three fool us really well. Or you had those three think they had fooled us really well. So, yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, and that's the other scenario to where, you could have them being portrayed as the kind of freedom fighters that take credit for all the work even though they didn't do any. So, I don't know. But there's a lot of clues going around, and again, there's a certain area, I think, certain direction a lot of fans are thinking that they're going in, but who knows? Ian Flynn might surprise us, but then again, Ian being who he is, it might just be very predictable. So, I look at Face of the Enemy Part 1 as, I think it's okay, it's a good setup to exactly what we're going to get next month. Now, the second story, Hidden Cost, Part 2, I thought, again, I mentioned earlier, and I think a lot of people have agreed, it's probably the better of the two stories. It really is. Hidden Cost, I think, is more of a character developing story, especially kind of, I think, establishing some kind of rivalry in a sense, some kind of respectable rivalry between Clove and Cassidy and Sally and Bunny. I'm thinking that's what it is. And I think that's what Lee is going for, is to create this little bit of a rivalry, a kind of like a frenemy kind of deal. It's like, well, not a frenemy, but kind of a more respectable rivalry. It's like they respect each. I mean, you could tell during the interaction with Clove and Sally that Clove, I think she even says this in a way, respects Sally for what she does. She respects her for what she did, in the mine. She respects her for this and that. So, and in a sense, you kind of see Sally kind of give a little bit of that respect back. So, again, like I said, you can see Sally give a little bit of that respect back. So I'm thinking that's what they're doing. I think that's what Leah's doing. She's trying to establish a more respectable rivalry for Sally and Bunny, for them to have down the line. Because you take a look, you have certain characters already, like Sonic, of course, he's got several rivals, friendly or non-friendly, respectable or non-respectable. You got, Knuckles has has a rivalry or so with some people. So again, it's, excuse me, again, it's really interesting. It's really interesting the direction that Aaliyah is taking. Now, the interaction between, like I say, Sally and Clove was definitely one out of respect. I mean, you can see that Clove, you kind of tell just by, Sally listening and kind of her reactions that she kind of, and even Clove, I think, kind of acknowledges that, hey, I'm only doing this because Eggman has agreed that as long as I help him, and, she didn't really say this, but in her own way, she acknowledges that she's only doing this, I think, one, to probably help her sister. We're going to probably find that out in part 3. But the second is the fact that, she's doing this so that her people don't get hurt, that her people don't get involved in this unnecessary fighting. I mean, you could tell she's someone that doesn't want to fight. She doesn't want to cause any violence or anything like that. So that's real good character developing there. Cassidy, on the other hand, is really different in a sense that she's kind of sympathetic, but she's kind of, I guess you could say she's sort of a sympathetic, kind of mischiefy character, or manipulative character, kind of like that. It's like she basically is on the same page as her sister, but she's willing to do what is needed, to succeed. She's willing to manipulate or be a mischief or whatever, but at the same time she's sympathetic because she basically goes on to explain to Bunny, hey, is it wrong that I wanted to have my ears and eyes work again? That I didn't want to be sick all the time? Because, Bunny hit that nerve earlier, after, it hit a nerve there, and this is after, Cassidy had hit a nerve with Bunny. Because, Cassidy, earlier in the story, says, hey, what's wrong with so much self-improvement? And Bunny, she gets this look in her face, and it's like, self-improvement? It's like, you don't want to, it's like if you say that to her, you're insulting her, because she's saying, hey, I didn't want this. So, again, great character developing there. And again, Cassidy, you can tell, is being set up as someone that's willing to do whatever it takes to succeed, but is also sympathetic in a sense that, hey, she's on the same kind of wavelength as her sister. Like, she doesn't want to involve her people, but she will do whatever it takes to succeed. She will do whatever it takes, even if she has to be a mischievy little girl or manipulative at times, kind of use people's weaknesses or sympathies and all that to their favor. She will do it. Does that mean she's worse? Does that mean she's a lot worse than her sister? No, it's just that she's more willing to do whatever it takes than her sister. Her sister's more like, her sister wants to have a more non-violent resolution or resolve of certain situations. Cassidy probably is the same way, but she's also more willing to be like, okay, that's cool and everything, but you know what? Sometimes we got to take action. We got to, take the fight, to them and all that. So, Again, just great character developing and nice building of what's going to be obviously a very respectable rivalry between the four. I really like what Aaliyah's doing here, and obviously we kind of got an idea in this part of what part of that secret that's going to be revealed next issue of why Cassidy and Clove are part of the Eggman Empire, why they're egg bosses. We're probably going to get a secret revealed, and I think we're kind of right now it's a good guess of what it could be, but I think we kind of have an idea of what it might be. And to me, I think even though Clove is on the cover, is on both covers, the regular cover and one of the Valiant covers for the next Eggman Sonic Universe arc. Is one of the egg bosses that he's going to call upon to help him out against the against Nogget, against Axis Noggis and Windy Windy Witchcraft or Windy Witchcart, or whatever her name is. So she's on the cover of both of those. That's going to be really interesting how she plays into that. But to me, I think this is more of a starting point to maybe down the line, don't know when or where, of Cassidy and Clove leaving the Eggman Empire. I think this is a slow start to them turning against Eggman and probably joining the fight against him or going off on their own to try to redeem themselves or something. So overall, Hidden Cost to me, and I do agree, no offense to Ian, is probably the better of the two stories. So overall, not too bad, and overall the issue is okay. You know, Face of the Enemy sets up for what we're going to see next month, kind of gets you guessing about these freedom fighters, if you will, whether they're on the up and up or there's more to them. You know, and Hidden Cost I think is turning out to be very good character developing, and again creating this nice little respectable rivalry between the four. So yeah, I really like what I see here, and again, I do agree with a lot of people. No offense to Ian, but Aaliyah is doing a much better job with the story with Hidden Cost than I think Ian has done with some of the other stories. So no offense to Ian, he does give a good story out here and there. Let's not deny that, but you know, Aaliyah is definitely becoming a fan favorite because I think one of the things people like about her, especially with Hidden Cost, is she's focusing more on character developing. So overall, not too bad, folks, and I definitely suggest checking out 278. Whether you could find it on Tails, Tails.kickass.net. Google that if you want to. You do have to sign up. It's a free sign up, so go ahead and Google that. You can get it through a torrent. I believe there's some free comic site torrents or something like that. As well as some other downloadable ones. I think I found one somewhere, I can't think of the name right now, that had one of the issues I needed. There's that, and of course there's the Archie digital app, and then we'll also getting the issue physically. So overall, definitely check out 278. More importantly, if you want to, for the second story, which is Hidden Cost, it's definitely a good character developing story. Again, no offense to Ian Flynn. So check out 278. Highly recommended, especially for the second story. And I'll talk to you all later. Comments are welcomed.